Have you ever stopped to think about how engines shaped the history of the automobile? From the iconic Ford Model T that revolutionized mass manufacturing, to Cadillac's powerful V8 that left drivers in AEW, the journey through engines is full of surprises and twists. Imagine an engine that promised speed but would become a legend for unexpected reasons, facing historic recalls and being nicknamed the Walking Bomb. Today we dive into the fascinating stories of these engines, exploring triumphs and disasters in the automotive industry. Get ready to discover which engines left an indelible mark, and which became examples of what not to do in automotive engineering. Are you ready to accelerate on this journey full of epic power-ups and crashes? We start our list at number 20. Did you know that the Ford Model T engine was revolutionary? With its simplicity and robustness, it not only popularized cars but also transformed mass manufacturing, a true icon that won the hearts of Americans. Another milestone was Cadillac's V8 engine in 1915. It was so powerful that it guaranteed impressive speed and performance. Drivers were ecstatic, but what many didn't know was that their fuel consumption left something to be desired. Have you ever heard of Ford's Pinto engine? It received heavy criticism and was called a walking bomb. With safety flaws resulting in recalls, it has become an example of what not to do in automotive engineering, a real nightmare. Lastly, we can't forget Chrysler's Hemi line. With an innovative design, these engines delivered monstrous power. Dreams of speed have come true, making car lovers' hearts beat faster. At number 19. Once upon a time there was a V8 engine that promised to revolutionize the automotive world. With a ferocious roar and power to spare, he made hearts race. But would this mechanical marvel really deliver what it promised? Discover the incredible journey that took him to the top. At the height of its popularity, this engine was so famous that many thought it was unbeatable. But the truth is that, behind his bravery, were problems that would make the ground shake. Did you know he faced a historic recall in his brief career? The problems began with a failure that brought the industry to its knees. Many owners called their engine a walking bomb. After so many promises, could he achieve redemption? Get ready, because the story of this machine was still far from over. After months of rumors and uncertainty, a new model has appeared, promising to correct the mistakes of the past. The question everyone was asking, would this be the triumphant return that fans were hoping for? And so, the saga of this engine continued, keeping viewers glued to the screen. At number 18. At the beginning of the 20th century, engines were pure magic for many. Did you know that Ford's famous V8 engine revolutionized the automotive industry and won hearts? But it also had its epic failures. Let's dive into this story. One of the biggest fiascos was the Pinto engine, famous for its explosions. The mechanics nicknamed it the walking bomb. Imagine an engine that could turn a simple road trip into a horror movie on wheels. But not everything was disasters. Chrysler's Hemi engine has enchanted enthusiasts with its incredible performance. It was as if each car was aiming to accelerate to infinity. Have you ever heard the roar of a Hemi on the track? It's breathtaking. As engines evolved, innovations like electronic fuel injection became standard. But remember, every advance has had its flaws. Did you know that one of the first injection systems caused performance problems and recurring recall calls? At number 17. Once upon a time there was an engine that promised to revolutionize the automotive industry, called the V8 Hurricane. It brought power and speed, but also became a legend for unexpected reasons. What happened to make it so controversial? The first tests were electrifying. With brutal acceleration, riders felt as if they were riding a wild horse. But they soon discovered that the fun came at a cost. Frequent mechanical failures that left many perplexed. Complaints increased. Owners began to complain about such insatiable fuel consumption that the engine came to be called the gasoline eater. Did you know it caused one of the biggest recalls in American automotive history? Despite its flaws, the Furacao V8 became a legend. Garages and workshops were the scene of hilarious and dramatic stories. After all, what is the true price of speed? Stay tuned as the next part will reveal his surprising legacy. At number 16. In 1971, the X123 engine rolled off the assembly lines with fanfare, but instead of roaring like a lion, he began to choke. Consumers soon noticed that it was as reliable as a ropeless winch. Did you know that this engine, known for its disappointing performance, caused one of the biggest recalls in history? More than 300,000 cars were recalled. What went wrong? A design error that no one saw coming. The mechanics nicknamed it the walking bomb. The owners just couldn't trust it. A movement began, with videos of cars crashing on the road itself. Outrage took over, but make no mistake, the X123 engine was not the only one with problems. Many have gone down in history for their epic failures. This only proves one thing: even the best can fail, and these stories are the most heartbreaking. At number 15, in 1970, an engine was born with great expectations. It promised power and efficiency, but soon proved to be a fiasco on the tracks. Did you know he was so famous that he even got a nickname? Believe me, Walking Bomb was the lightest of insults. Mechanics had nightmares about this engine. With constant failures and gasoline as his only friend, he left even the most experienced frustrated. Nobody expected that a major manufacturer would make such a blunder. A real turning point. But what really caused such a disaster? The flawed project had a dark secret: haste. The pressure to compete in the market race produced poor construction. The question is, was money worth more than reputation? The consequences were devastating. In the end, this engine not only tarnished the brand's image, sparked a historic recall, affecting millions. Motor lovers have become critical. And what do you think about this unbridled race for power at any cost? At number 14, have you ever stopped to think about how engines became icons? From powerful V8 South to electric ones, each has its stories, failures, and successes. Some, however, were marked forever, like an engine that was called a walking bomb. Let's talk about an engine that caused a real stir on the streets. The Ford Pinto, with its poor starting performance and unsettling reputation for catching fire. Did you know that its recall was one of the biggest in history? A real wake-up call for the industry. And how about meeting the notorious GM's Vega? Nicknamed the Fiasco, it faced corrosion problems and a failing engine. The owners could barely make it to the block before they heard a noise that could end their days of freedom on wheels. Last but not least, we have the Chrysler 2.2 engine. Although it made history with its innovative design, many drivers discovered the harsh price of maintenance. This journey of achievements and failures will certainly surprise you. At number 13, imagine an engine that promised power but delivered frustration. The famous Truth engine had such a bad reputation that many called it the paper engine. It was unstable and left drivers pulling their hair out with each start. The legendary battle between V8 and V6 started here. While some fell in love with the powerful roar of V8 South, others were content with the smooth running of V6 South. Which would you choose? This dispute is in the heart of every engine enthusiast. Did you know that the X engine caused a historic recall? With flaws that left cars parked in the middle of the street, it was nicknamed the guided bomb. For many, it just meant an extra push to the nearest mechanic. And what about turbo engines? A true revolution. They delivered extra power and fuel economy. How could we live without this miracle of engineering? Get ready to discover how they changed the game forever. At number 12, in this chapter, we will explore the engines that changed the automotive industry. Did you know that Ford's V8 not only revolutionized performance, but also became a cultural icon? A true heart of the passionate machines we love. We will talk about engines that were doomed to failure, such as the infamous rotary one, popular for its promise of power, but quickly nicknamed the walking bomb by mechanics. Was the design really that complicated? Let's take a look at one of the most powerful engines of the modern era, Dodge's Hellcat. With its impressive 707 horsepower, can you imagine the roar of this engine on the road? A masterpiece that leaves many traditional engines dusty. Finally, we cannot forget the legacy of electric motors. With the rise of brands like Tesla, the question is, do combustion engines still have a place in our garages? The future is approaching, and is your girl ready for the revolution? At number 11. Imagine an engine that made the roads roar. The V8 wasn't just a machine, it was a symbol of power and freedom. Each cylinder beat loudly in the hearts of speed lovers, promising that adrenaline rush that only true engine lovers know. But not everything was rosy. Did you know that a famous model from the 70s had more problems than fuel at the pump? The mechanics guessed whether it would work. A true test of patience, which led many to call him the Dragon of the workshops. Now picture this, a drag race where the V8 dominated the track. With a deafening roar, he surpassed everyone. The smell of burning fuel and the wind in your face were just the beginning of a new era in motor racing. But then there was a recall. Yes, a recall. This engine caused such a stir that you could hear the clamor from fans around the country. A true milestone in history, reminding everyone that even giants can trip over their own gears. At number 10. At the beginning of the 20th century, a revolutionary engine emerged, promising power and speed. It was the V8 engine, which quickly conquered the tracks and streets. Did you know that he transformed ordinary cars into real-time war machines? But not everything was rosy. The V8 engine faced serious overheating problems, driving many drivers to the brink of madness. Imagine driving your dream and suddenly seeing smoke coming out of the hood. Yes, that was a reality for many. However, the industry did not stop. Competition increased, and more efficient engines emerged that not only increased power, but also improved fuel economy. Can you imagine what this meant for drivers' wallets? Ultimately, the struggle of engineers and mechanics resulted in innovations that marked automotive history. Each failure became a learning experience, each success a new era. Want to know how these engines changed the face of racing? So stay tuned. At number 9, did you know that the XYZ engine was so problematic that many called it a walking bomb? That's right, it had a history of failures that would leave any engine lover in shock. Let's talk about the time this engine caused the most famous recall of the decade. Imagine thousands of cars returning to dealerships, and all because of one small but lethal defect. The owners of these cars faced real nightmares. Failures at critical moments. Would you be prepared to be stuck on the road because of a detached engine? But not everything is a tragedy. Many tuned their cars, transforming what was a disaster into a powerful machine. This story of overcoming is what keeps engine lovers on the road. At number 8. In 1971, the Ford Pinto was born. Created to be an affordable and economical car, it quickly won the hearts of American drivers. But was all this love sincere? Controversy was on the way. At first glance, the Pinto seemed like a great buy. Compact and stylish, it promised agility in cities. But, for many, this beauty would soon prove to be a nightmare. Do you know what your biggest problem was? Crash tests revealed a dark secret. The fuel tank was prone to explosions and accidents. How was this possible? This serious failure led to historic recalls and irreparable damage to Ford's reputation. Even so, the Pinto won fans and became an icon of 70s pop culture. But its history is a warning. Sometimes, what seems like a good idea on wheels can turn into a real disaster. At number 7. Once upon a time there was an iconic engine, the V8, that promised speed and power. Did you know that he revolutionized racing in the 60s? Men gathered in the streets to see who was the king of speed, while cars roared like tigers on the hunt. But not everything was rosy. Some V8 engines, famous for their power, were known as walking bombs. One of them, the 1972 V8, caused a series of historic recalls. What went so wrong? A real nightmare for car lovers. The clamor for speed drove manufacturers to innovate, but there were consequences. Incredibly powerful cars began to integrate complex systems. Can you imagine the frustration of a driver with an engine that won't start? Many sleepless nights. However, a new era emerges: turbo engine. It was the promise of performance and efficiency. A turbo engine can make even the most modest cars fly. Get ready, because the real show was just beginning and you don't want to miss this race. At number 6. In this chapter, we'll explore the heart of cars, the engines. Did you know that the famous V8 revolutionized the way we think about power? With its strong roar and promises of speed, it has become a true icon in the automobile industry. Now we travel back to the 1970s when an engine became famous. For all the wrong reasons. The Ford Pinto was nicknamed Firecrackers by critics, due to safety flaws that shocked the world. A real game changer. Let's talk about legends. The Ferrari V12 engine is synonymous with emotion and performance. Its perfect harmony between power and beauty has made it the dream of many car lovers. It not only moves cars, but also fervent hearts of fans. We can't forget the electric motor, which is shaping the future of driving. With impressive autonomy and absolute silence, it makes you ask, are the days of the roar of combustion engines numbered? The revolution has just begun. At number 5, imagine an engine so problematic that it became a joke. GM's Iron Duke engine was so weak when starting that many said it only had the power to drive at the sun's line. Have you heard of him? And how about Ford's V8 engine, known as the gas pump? This engine promises power, but many drivers regretted the long stops at the gas station. Do you know what happened? Meet the Wankel engine, which made cars spin in very strange ways. Despite the fame, the efficiency was not there. Can you believe that many people still dream of having a car like this? Lastly, the two-stroke engine, which to this day is an urban legend. It had incredible power, but a very high cost in fuel and pollution. Do you think technology still has a place these days? At number 4. On a sunny day, a legendary engine appears. But what makes it so special? It is the power that brings smiles and accelerates hearts. Get ready to discover the story behind this giant that left no one indifferent. Did you know that this engine was responsible for one of the biggest recalls in history? Overheating problems and mechanical failures turned a dream into a nightmare. Owners asked themselves, how could I trust this machine? Despite the setbacks, the revolutionary design made the engine an unmistakable icon. His rivals trembled. Every curve and every line drew not only power, but also a legacy. It was described as a work of art on wheels. In the end, even with its ups and downs, this engine taught a lesson. We can all fail, but what matters is how we bounce back. And so, a new era of engines began, inspiring lovers of speed and adrenaline. Now, we come to our top 3 on our list. At the height of the 60s, the Ford Mustang arrived by storm. With an unmistakable growl, he not only dominated races, but also captured hearts. Did you know that it was so popular that it almost featured a 7.0-liter V8 engine? On the other hand, Chevrolet's Corvair engine provoked controversy. Known for its tendency to capsize, it has been nicknamed the walking bomb. This car caused a historic recall, shading the brand's legacy in the automobile industry. And who could forget Chrysler's legendary Hemi engine? He is the true titan of the track. With insane performance and a roar that would make anyone shiver, this engine made history by impressively winning several races. Finally, we have Subaru's famous turbocharged engine. A true game-changer. This engine took rallying to another level, proving itself to be a force to be reckoned with. Can you imagine the streets dominated by their powerful and fast cars? At number 2, on a sunny morning, a group of engine enthusiasts gathered in a garage. There, the smell of oil and gasoline hung in the air as they discussed the engine that would define their experiences. Which engine would be chosen for this adventure? In the spotlight was a legendary engine, but with a terrible reputation. Known as a walking bomb, its failures spread like wildfire. Did you know that it caused a historic recall that marked the automobile industry? The owners told stories of their frustrations. Weak starts, unexpected overheating, and a list of problems that never ended. It was almost as if the engine was laughing at them. What led to this mechanical disaster? But all was not lost. There were those who challenged the engine, extracting surprising performance from it. The harsh winters and muddy roads could not stop these motor enthusiasts. How did they manage to turn a fiasco into victory? And now, first on our list. In this chapter, we'll explore the engines that not only powered cars, but revolutionized the automotive world. Are you ready to find out what makes an engine stand out from the crowd? Imagine an engine that became legendary for its strength and endurance, the Chevrolet Small Block. Since its debut in 1955, it has become the beating heart of many muscle cars. What made this engine so iconic? We cannot forget the Ford 302, which made speed lovers dream. He, with his power and dramatic evocations, was a protagonist in races and adventures. Did you know it's still a favorite among tuners? Last but not least, meet the unique Honda K2. This engine is synonymous with durability and performance. No wonder it won over drivers around the world. Ready to find out why he's the champion? So, folks, we've reached the end of our journey through the engines that changed the automobile industry. Each of them brought not only power and performance, but also their fascinating stories of successes and failures. Which of these engines is your favorite? Or do you know of any other engines that should be on this list? Leave your opinion in the comments, like the video, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible content like this. And don't forget to activate the bell so you don't miss any news.